So, hello, we are back again with FreeCodeCamp, Slice and Splice. In this challenge, we have to turn this into this. So it's about getting all of these elements of an array and putting them into the position, so the index of the second array. That's why we have parameter 1, the array that we have to move into array 2, and n, which is the index of where we have to place array 1. Okay, so I've prepared an explanation with video games because it is very possible that if you are learning to code, you've already played a video game, so it is quite relatable. So let's say your friend has a collection of games, GTA 5, Minecraft, Mafia 3, Sims 4, whatever, and he just bought new games like The Last of Us 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, Cyberpunk 2077, and so on. And he needs to place these new games somewhere, but he doesn't know where, because your friend is very lazy and will not do it. So you want to help this friend and will just, shuffle around with these games. So you go ahead and ask him, where should I put your games? And then he says, well, you can put the new games between GTA 5 and Minecraft because I want to play GTA 5 first. So you go ahead and you put them there in the second position, so index of 1. But then one day later, you ask, so is it good like that? And then he's like, you know what? Nah. Now that I think about it, just put them before Mafia 3 because I like to play Minecraft and I'm gonna play those other new games afterwards. So you go ahead and you move them into the third position. So that would be an index of 1. And then one day later, he comes up and says, could you just move them again? And you're very angry. And you want just to crush all of his games. But before you kind of do anything aggressive, you have an idea. And since you have a robot, I don't know how, that can shuffle around games, that is his only purpose, you are like, I'm gonna teach this robot how to move around these games so that every time my friend wants a new arrangement, he can ask the robot directly to do it for him. The only problem is the robot doesn't understand what do you mean by RDD2, GTA 5, and we have to teach that robot how to do it with code, and that robot, let's say, just understands JavaScript for whatever reason. Now we have a constraint, which is that our friend wants to keep a record of the original order of all games. So, of these. Okay, so the same constraint is here. The first array should remain the same after the function runs, and the second array too. So we have to somehow create a new array and not alter the order of the other two arrays. Okay, so, the exercise gives us a hint. It's slice and splice, so it must be related to those two JavaScript methods. So let's say we are gonna focus first on determining where to put these games, even if we change the second array. We're gonna forget about the constraint for now, that we have to keep a record of the original order of the old games. We're gonna just do the exercise first, and then we'll change it afterwards. So we have the array 2, which is, I'm gonna rename it, okay. This is the new games, and this is the old games. And this is the position where we want to place the new games. So what we want to do is reserve some space from the old games, some position where we place the new games. So it's basically cutting into the order of old games, reserving some position there, just like with the games, let's say within the old games, we want to place those 3 games at the end. So something that is very useful to do that is the splice method. Splice is different from slice, and the first argument, we do not have to remember everything by heart. We can just look it up. So I found a reference for the splice method here in JavaScript. It adds and removes items to or from an array and returns the removed items. And we have as a first parameter, which is required, the integer that specifies at what position to add or remove the items. So in our case it's n. That's the position we want to put the new games in. Afterwards, we want to remove some items, and the second argument basically says, and it's optional by the way, it says how many items do you want to remove? In our case it's 0. We don't want to remove any old game. And then the third argument is also optional, and it is basically which new items do you want to add. So in our case we want to add the new games, but new games is an array, and we would have to loop through new games, like have a loop here, loop, and then inside the loop we would have to do the whole operation of passing them onto the new, onto the old games, and that's not very useful. But thankfully the spread operator comes to our rescue. It is basically like this. It means that, oh yeah, and it's not defined. So it means basically all the elements go through all the elements of the array new games and put them, spread operator, spread them here. So then we are gonna console.log if we return this, it's not going to return what we want. It's going to return an empty array. It does not return the updated old games array, which has the new games and stuff. No, because here we discovered the splice method returns the removed items, and since we removed none, then we also get none in return. So what we basically do is return all games and not the whole method. So we see 4, 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6, because 6 is also here. Okay, well that makes sense. If we remove 6, then we would have it like in the first test case. So we run the tests and the last one fails because we have altered the second array. So how can we solve that? In that we create a new array. Let's say for example that our friend has a bookcase for the new games, but then has another reserved bookcase for all games. And let's just assume that he keeps a copy of all of them, and he wants to have the first copy of the new game separated from the first copy of the old games, but then the second copy of the old games and new games must be together in a new bookcase. And like that he keeps record of, you know, old games, new games, and all games. So let's create that array, all games. We want it to be a copy of the old games array. And what would be this challenge if we only had splice, but we also have slice? So if we do slice, I don't know what to put in there, you know. Does it have arguments? I don't know. So I just look it up. And here, this link tells me slice, it returns the selected elements in an array, but as a new array object. That means it makes a copy. It does not change the original array, which is very important, and it's exactly what we want, to always keep track of the alt games without changing them. Okay. So it has a start argument and an end argument. Both are optional. If you specify none, then it's going to take a copy of the whole array. So then we just replace alt games by all games. We splice them like that, and then we return them. And then we are done. So we are 3/4 into the basic algorithm scripting challenges. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, it would mean a lot to me if you leave a like, subscribe, and comment. So thank you, and see you next time.